The field heads its way down into the old hairpin, coming into this round of the season. Millie Hart leading Aiden Hassan by about 17 points coming into this round of the championship. And Joseph Doble leading by 19 points ahead of Max Noble in the Compact Cup. They did have a triple header at Snetterton 300 and then a double header at Alton International. And then after this, they'll be heading to Snetterton for a double header there before Silverstone National, Croft, and then Silverstone International with the triple header at the home of British Motorsport being the final round of the calendar this season. But it will be a case of seeing who will be the best out of these drivers. Will Torben Aston make it 2 for 2? Will Gareth Claydon make it 2 for 2 this weekend? That is the key point at this particular juncture. We will see what will happen once everyone gets into formation on the... So the drivers will make their way down through the Melbourne hairpin, and then it's going to be on to Goddard's before they make their way into their grid positions. Standing start once again, all cars, front engine, rear wheel drive, so expect a little bit of wheel spin off the line. But Millie Hart, the number 29, the current points leader coming into this round of the championship, and there is her chief rider, Aiden Hassan, the number 64. Turbocharger issues, and I think further turbocharger issues have plagued the 64 all the way through qualifying this morning, and the earlier race, this early part of this afternoon, as the Nankang Tyre BMW SuperCup entrants line up, and then it's going to be Gareth Claydon versus Conor Grady. Conor Grady, Gareth Claydon didn't have a great race in the second adventure at Alton International last time out, but can he make it 2 wins from 2? So the last couple of competitors from the Nankang Tyre BMW Compact Cup line up into position on the start grid as we are set and under starters' orders for 15 minutes for the last time this weekend for the Nankang Tyre BMW Super Cup and Compact Cup, respectively. Red lights on the gantry, and it's a long, long hold. Lights are out, we're underway. Green flag. And a good Martin Tolley diving up the inside of Millie Hart, but look, has been his change. Waterfall through on Aston, down the hill as they go through the Craner curves for the first time. Now it's hard on the brakes. Turn it right into the old hairpin. So it's Waterfall from Aston, from Hart, Tolley, and Hassan languishing a little bit further back. But look, there's one that's scarpered at the front end of the field as it's too wide going into the old hairpin for P3 for the Nankang Tyre BMW Compact Cup. And that looks to be Gareth Claydon has dropped down from the race lead. Conor Grady, I think, is probably the one out in front as they go up the hill through Starkey's, through Schwantz Curve, now into McLean's for the opening time. And the leader in the BMW Compact Cup has gotten away and scarpered by a good distance as they head up the hill. And that is going to be the number 1 of Conor Grady that leads. Gareth Claydon has got to make his way up the order. And I think he might have lost out to Joseph and Mike Doble in the meantime. But it's going to be a 3-way scrap down into the Fogarty S's. Claydon looking for a move up the inside. He's going to get through on the 65 of Mike Doble. So there's still Joe Doble just in front. Meantime, things are starting to get a little bit... they've changed a little bit further in terms of the... 1 Series competitors at the front end of the field, as now it is going to be, well, Simon Waterfall has lost the lead. He's now being closed in on by Millie Hart, and there is the number 13 of Martin Tolley. Aiden Hassan yet to come through the final corner, as Simon Waterfall now having to defend against Millie Hart as they go through into Redgate. So Thorben Aston leading by just under 1.1 seconds. Aiden Hassan is now 10.5 seconds behind the race leader as they go down the hill. And in the Compact Cup, it is Conor Grady, the number 1, who is leading the way. And it's Joe Doble in the number 11. Then Gareth Claydon in the number 46. Mike Doble in the 65. And then it's going to be Max Noble in the 23 that rounds out the top 5 in the Compact Cup as they go down the hill at high velocity in the BMW E36. 318 Ti compacts, well, the E36 variation of it. Up the hill they go again, and Aston trying to pull away if he can. And there you can see that Aidan Hassan clearly struggling with the number 64 BPC Motorsport. He's actually being passed by that Masters division, currently running at the moment down in 7th place overall. But now Waterfall closing in on Aston for that race lead. If they start to bicker, then it's going to give the opportunity for Millie Hart in the number 29 car to close on in and maybe bring her 2 cents into the argument for who will be the race winner in this particular adventure. But over the line they go after the 2nd lap of racing. Aston leading, and the top 3 covered by just over 1.4 seconds. And at the moment, well, it's Simon Waterfall that holds the fastest lap of the race, 1:54.520. And more to the point, well, Aidan Hassan is absolutely being swallowed up by the Compact Cup field. And I wouldn't be at all surprised if the 64 BPC Motorsport 1 Series ends up going into pit lane very shortly. He might decide to see if he can bring that car across the line, but a turbocharged engine can be affected when one of the parts, especially the turbocharger, which is forcing cold air into the inlet manifold and mixing it with the combined combustion of the fuel, then you're not getting the full power that you need. But meantime, a little bit further up the field, we've got the battle between 65 and 23. That's Mike Doble versus Max Noble. That is for position, and that is for 4th place overall in the Compact Cup. The Aston sets a 1:53.244, opens the gap up to 1.1 seconds. Millie Hart holding station in 3rd, and Martin Tolley rounding out the 4 that are still running in the, along with Aidan Hassan, who is all the way down in 15th. Meantime, Conor Grady leads the way in terms of the Compact Cup. Then it's Joe Doble in the number 11. And then Gareth Claydon, who won race 1 earlier on. It's been a change a little bit further back, that Towers and Ross in the 66 and the in this particular penultimate race of the weekend here at Donington Park. And still the battles are waging on. There's the number 66 of Keith Towers. Started on the outside of row number 4 in the Compact Cup grid. And he is trying to close on down on the 777 of Ethan Woods. So get a little scrap there. Just behind them, they've got the 26 of Xavier Ross. And the back end bouncing up and down quite a lot there. Going through the second part of, well, the first part of Coppice there for Towers in the 66. Meantime, we switch to the battle between Doble and Noble, 65 versus 23. Still, Thorben Aston continues to lead. New fastest lap by the 91, a 1:52.830. And at the moment, Simon Waterfall in the Unity Motorsport car, unable to close that gap into the battle for 2nd and 3rd in the Compact Cup division. And look at the run that Gareth Claydon has got on Joseph Doble. He's going to put it round the outside here at Hollywood, down into the Craner curves, 46 and 11, side by side, wheel to wheel. Doble's going to have the inside line into the old hairpin. What's Claydon going to do here? Slot in behind, get the run up the hill. Through Starkeys, then into Schwantz curve, then into the right McLean's. He's at the opportunity to get through as they head down towards the Fogarty S's. Claydon pulls to the right-hand side. Meantime, Conor Grady is quite a way ahead of this battle. It was 1.2 seconds. Claydon gets through on sheer pace alone. And Doble tries to throw it to the outside through the Fogarty S's, but I think Claydon will have got the job done. Oh, out of the final corner, Thorben Aston loses big-time traction. 2 wheels into the dusty grass. Dustin maybe just carried a little bit too much speed. He's flirting with the edges of the grass, just trying to build a little bit more of that gap ahead of Simon Waterfall. Millie Hart holding station in 3rd place. Meantime, back to the battle in second position in the Compact Cup between Gareth Clayton and Joe Doble. Really starting to intensify that battle. So is from Max Noble. And there you go, Mike Doble able to respond by quickly going up the inside. But Joe Doble still putting Gareth Clayton under significant pressure as we head into the final 4 minutes of this race. And we'll have one more race to go after this before we conclude the on-track activity, the fix. So we're probably going to have, at best, probably this and maybe one more lap to go. They cross the line with about 3.5 minutes remaining. So it will be 2 laps to go. We're on to lap 7. And that was the closest, I think, that we have seen Simon Waterfall at that point. So they go down the hill once again, and this is where Thorben Aston really starts turning again. It's only when he's turning right. So whether the team have decided, well, you know, it's not affecting you, just go out there and see what you can do. And then there's a little bit of a gap there to Millie Hart. A bit further back, we've got the battle between Towers and Woods. So that's Keith Towers and Ethan Woods. They are battling away for position. Conor Grady enjoying his Sunday afternoon countryside drive in Leicestershire at the moment with 2 minutes to go. He's got a comfortable gap, 3.6 seconds ahead of Gareth Clayton, who's now started to break away a little bit from Joseph Doble in the dying stages of this race. So very shortly the leaders will be very close to completing what could be their penultimate lap as the Compact Cup leaders make their way through in towards the Fogarty S's, what is set to be the penultimate time of this weekend. And across the line we go. Last lap underway. And Thorben Aston event at Alton Park International at race 2. Aidan Hassan, you have to give credit to the BPC Motorsport driver to still get that car to the end. It's not firing it's not working as it should do, but it's going to give him seat time, and that's going to be quite important for the number 64, and hopefully for the next event at Snetterton 300 for these cars, he will have an opportunity to maybe have that car ready and prepared through the team at BPC Motorsport. But despite the best 3 in a row for the number 91, that Simon Waterfall has tried everything to close on in. Meantime, Joe Doble there in the number 11 is still trying to chase down Gareth Clayton, but it is going to be the final time. We head to Goddard's for the Nankang Tyre BMW SuperCup Championship. It is going to be a win for Thorben Aston in the number 91. It's going to be 3 in a row as he comes out of the final corner, puts the pedal to the metal and takes the win here at Donington Park. Second goes the way of Simon Waterfall. A good weekend, consistent weekend for Millie Hart. She crosses the line. No victory for her this time, but it will be a third place finish. It will be a 5-second time penalty for track limits for Martin Tolley, but that is not going to cause him too much strife in terms of things. But then with regards to the Nankang Tyre BMW Compact, get through whilst I pop downstairs.
Yeah, thank you, Alex. And yes, more cars coming across the line. Max Noble ahead of Mike Doble and Adam Wright in the last few compacts, also making it across the line to take the checkered flag. A fine effort all round for the Nankang Tyre BMW Super Cup today. Of course, the weekend title sponsored by Nankang Tyre, so good to have a Nankang Tyre sponsored championship on the timetable as well. And great to have both the 1 Series and the compacts doing a grand job out there on the circuit. So, one more race to come shortly, and that will be for the second race of the weekend for the Fixer Wheel Production Cup. And hopefully we will see a good race for them. There was a bit of drama towards the end of the first race, and Rich Hockley pulled up on the final lap of the race, which meant that he didn't actually get a chance to take the victory. Instead, victory went to Robert Buckland instead. So that was something that was a surprise, but nonetheless a welcome victory, I'm certain, for Robert Buckland in the end. Martin Kortko is coming across the line to be the last of the BMWs across the line. And once the cars come into pit lane, we'll be able to have a chat with our BMW top threes. I think we might have a little bit of time to do so. No, I think actually all cars did finish, in fact, in that sense. So good to see. And it was actually the same 3 cars on the podium as it was in race 1. So Torben Astin ahead of Simon Waterwall and Billy Hart. And then this time it was Conor Grady who took the victory in the Compact Cup class ahead of Gareth Clayton, who won race 1 earlier on. And Joe Doble takes 3rd position. So there's the results on the screen. Torben Astin takes the victory, Simon Waterfall in 2nd, Millie Hart in 3rd. Then, of course, a significant gap back to Martin Tolley, who had a penalty earlier on, took 4th. 5th place overall goes to Conor Grady, who took the Compact Cup victory ahead of Gareth Clade and Joseph Doble. And it's Max Noble, Mike Doble, Adam Wright, Rod Langham and Xavier Ross to round off the top 12. Then Keith Towers, Ethan Woods, Aaron Tippler, Tim Seaford, and then we had some issues. Aidan Hassan dropped right back. He's had turbo problems all weekend. And Martin Corkwell, who rounds out the 18-car finishers. So, as we say, one more race left to go to round off this weekend. I will also say, again, as I've said many times, but just to stress, sincere apologies for all of the live stream issues that we've had. It has been literally technical issues that have been completely out of ours as a club or our production company's hands in terms of the issues that have arisen. But we've managed to try and power through them and try and bring you as much as we could of the races this afternoon. There goes Joe Doble. Well, straight into Park Fairmate. We were hoping we'd be able to get the top 3s from both of that race, but it looks like they have gone through. Unless they're able to possibly go and quickly grab them and have a word with them, because there is obviously quite a few BMW cars in the Production Cup to go and pick up and put on the circuit. There's about 27, 28 cars. So we might possibly be able to grab at least, I'm assuming at least the winners from both 1 Series and Compact Cup. I think that Alex and our cameraman Jeremy might quickly running into Park Famer to try and at least bring them round so we can have a chat to them. And we're just getting ready then for the last race of the day, which the timing screen has now switched over to. So we're getting ready for the Fixed Wheel Production Cup. Are we getting any interviews or just go and carry on? And I can hear in the background outside that the Production Cup cars have been released from the... So let's carry on doing Production Cup. So I think sadly the signal might be a little too far for our camera to reach down to get the video, so to get them. So fortunately, it looks like due to the signal strength that's down there towards the end of the pit lane, where we have all the surrounding metal and buildings, it does affect when you take the camera into the Parc Ferme area. So unfortunately, we might not be able to have a chat to our top 3s in BMW, which is a shame. But congratulations at least to Torben Astin and Conor Grady for taking the victories as well. So one more race left to go, and it is for the Fixer Wheel Production Cup. Now, for those who were watching what they could of the stream earlier on, you'll have noticed that essentially the Production Cup is a sprint version, effectively, of what we know as the Club Sport Trophy. The class structure is very similar. The maximum power to weight ratio is the same, 235 brake horsepower per tonne. But the difference being is that there is an extra class, Class F, and on top of that, they also have an extra category racing with them, which is the brand new for 2025. Also, the Silver Lake DS3 Cup for the Citroen DS3. There are 6 on the grid this weekend, and looking to put on a good show here. Just seeing I think that's Tim Hartland, who's sharing the car with Stuart Mead this weekend. Tim Hartland and Stuart Mead, who are racing in the I think Club Sport Trophy yesterday, but good to see them back out. Former SuperSport Endurance Cup champions, the first ever overall SuperSport Endurance Cup champions. And they're out in a slightly different VW than normal. They're usually out in a VW Scirocco, but instead they're in an old school Golf Mark II. I think that's possibly an ex-Production Cup Mark II Volkswagen Golf. I remember the name Tim Hartland, I think, from the Production Cup days. He's kept that car, and now it's quite suitable for Production Cup in here too. But you can see the majority of the field is effectively hot hatches. You've got Renault Clios, you've got BMW Compacts, you've got the Citroen DS3 Cup car. There's a BMW 116 in there too as well. You've got a couple of Mazda MX-5s. The Renault Clio is quite a popular car in this series. There's a few Peugeot 206s. We've got a Ford Fiesta ST150, which has got Matt McCarthy behind the wheel. There's some Mazda MX-5s in there as well, including Brscc's very own sporting manager Luke Souch. So did himself quite well in that first race, got himself just on the verge of the top 10 and a class podium as well, I think, in Class E. So well done to him for doing a grand job. Here's the grid then. So Robert Buckland, as a result of winning race 1 earlier on, will start on pole alongside Paul Hoggins. Then it's Colin Dunn and Oliver Barsby, with David Richardson and Ben Taylor next on the 3rd row. Dale Edwards and Jared Coulson come next from Britta Sutherland and Cavan Taylor. Then Luke Souch on the 6th row alongside James Eastham in his Peugeot 206 GTI. Row 7 is where we find Gerard Merriman and Andrew Walsh, who was racing in the MGF Cockshoot Cup yesterday. We have Theo Longman, who is on the front row for the Citroën